Hi, and thanks for joining me for Listen Up Homebuyers. I'm Victoria Ray Henderson, the host of this Naeba podcast, and I am really excited today to have with me our newest member of the National Association of Exclusive Buyer Agents. This is Rob Shank. He is the broker of Crossed Arrows Real Estate Services. He is also a teacher at the Wyoming Real Estate School, and he is based in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And Rob, thank you so much for joining me on Listen Up Homebuyers.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great.
So, Rob, you decided to join the National Association of Exclusive Buyer Agents, and I'm guessing it's because you saw the inherent conflict of interest that exists in real estate. Talk to me a little bit about that, and because I don't think a lot of consumers really understand exactly how real estate representation works.
Well, I think the exclusive buyer agency really solves a lot of problems and a lot of potential problems when it comes to our fiduciary relationships that we have with our clients. And when you have an agency that all they do is help a buyer, it eliminates so much risk for the
Mhm,
broker,
mhm,
um, from just a legal standpoint of worried about um, potential lawsuits and litigation,
mhm.
um, and amounts of money that maybe insurance won't cover. Clients don't understand a lot of times that the seller represents the seller. The seller is looking after the seller's best interest.
Mhm.
The buyer's agent is looking after the buyer's best interest. But what happens when the seller is represented by the same agency that is representing you? I had the opportunity to talk to a friend of mine about this the other day. That's an attorney, and he said, "Well, why did you do this with the exclusive buyer agency?" And I said, "Well, if you were getting a divorce or you were buying a business, something that's you're doing something that's worth a lot of money, like buying a home is,
Exactly.
uh, and the person that you're dealing with on the other side is represented by ABC law firm, a specific attorney within that law firm. Would you hire another attorney at the ABC law firm to take care of you?
Can you give me an overview of what representation in Wyoming looks like for the buyer as well as for the seller?
Anytime a seller is using a real estate agent, they're going to have a listing agreement that they sign.
Hmm.
A buyer could either be uh, a customer to that and not be represented by anyone. They could be represented by a buyer and have a buyer's agency agreement.
Hmm.
There is the possibility that, which is very rarely done, that the agent is an intermediary that's just the go between everyone.
Hmm.
Um, but while Wyoming got rid of dual agency to where one specific agent is not allowed to represent both the buyer and the seller,
Uh-huh.
an agency is.
Right. The brokerage is.
The brokerage is. Uh, and under normal circumstances, as long as the broker, the responsible broker of that brokerage, is not directly involved, meaning he's not personally representing the buyer or the seller,
Right.
then two of his agents can handle that. But to me, that's still dual agency
Hmm. Yeah.
because
It's a
bro-
variation of it because your relationship uh, as a buyer or a seller is with that broker.
brokerage,
Yeah.
right?
And
Um,
so you're signing away that representation, but it's kind of like a different name for dual agency.
right. They did made another way around that, was that if you had let's say the seller of the property, the one that was personally handling the sellers, was the responsible broker himself, him or herself,
Uh-huh.
and say one of his agents had a buyer.
Hmm.
Well, now you have a real problem because who's going to supervise this? So then Wyoming has given the option for that responsible broker to assign a transaction manager
Uh-huh.
But that transaction manager in Wyoming has to be licensed as an associate broker at a minimum in
Wow.
order to do that. They can't be just the entry level salesperson license. They have to be one step above and be an associate broker. And that person can be assigned. But that scares me.
Yeah. Tell me why, or tell
I,
us.
I as a business owner, I look at that and go, if something goes wrong in this transaction, uh, they're I'm getting the blame. They're especially if you're the responsible broker and you've got two of your agents that are doing a transaction,
Mhm.
they're representing different parties. They're coming to you
For advice and for
for
guidance.
advice and information, and they're telling you what's going on. And
Right.
the seller is coming and saying, well, they really want to get X amount for the house, um, but they'd be willing to go down to this if some of these contingencies weren't in place, things
Right.
like that.
Well, I know.
Uh,
Discussing the details of the transaction.
right. And then the buyer's agent's coming to you doing the same thing. How can you really say that you're impartial
Hmm.
as the responsible broker? Because in your mind, you have to be thinking, all right, I know the seller over here is willing to do this, and I know the buyer over here is willing to do this.
Hmm.
I want my agents to make their commission and make their money. I want to make my portion of that.
Right.
How easy would it be just to go, hey, do this and this, hey, go do this, and put it together? But that's not right. That's not
Uh,
what we're supposed to do.
Many real estate agents, we have to focus on the fact that we are representing the best interests of our clients. And,
Mhm.
we should be paid for the work that we do. But there's this slippery slope with all these different hats that we can wear. And where I'm from, dual agency, designated agency, these are things that are allowed. And when you're talking about somebody's paycheck, it's a very slippery slope when you're allowed to represent two people at the same time as a single agent. Or a brokerage can say, oh, Mr. Seller, I'm going to get you the highest and best price. Oh, Mr. Buyer, I'm going to get you the lowest price. These all of this creates a real confusion. And I think it ultimately is why people don't like real estate agents very much. Uh,
Well, I don't believe that a buyer's agent should ever be a salesman,
mhm,
reminding them of all the inspections they need to get done,
mhm,
double checking the documents, and making sure all their needs are met,
mhm,
not trying to take them to a house and sell them on it.
mhm. That's right.
Um, our new marketing things came out, and one of the things we said was, we're not going to sell you a house. We're going to help you buy one.
Yeah.
And then we had another one that said, we're not going to sell you on a house. We're going to help you find the one you want.
Right.
I get it. It's hard for folks to turn down being a listing agent and maybe getting both sides of the transaction.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing I see that a lot of people don't realize is how buyers agents get paid. They go, oh, well, I don't want to hire. It'll cost me more money to hire a buyer's agent.
Mhm.
Oh no, it doesn't.
That's right.
Listing agents, we're gonna take half of their commission.
It's called the cooperative commission where.
Right. Um, but people don't understand that, and they think that we're they're gonna it's gonna cost them more to get those services.
Right.
So that's the dilemma I've had, is getting that message out
Mhm.
so folks understand how this truly works,
Mhm.
and what we'll do for them.
Yeah, it's really a different mindset, isn't it? Being an exclusive buyer broker, exclusive buyer agent, you are providing a service, and that is the whole approach. Advocating for people, making sure they understand what they're getting into, evaluating the properties, and ultimately, at the end of the day, knowing that you really are helping people make one of the biggest purchases they're going to make, I guess, until they do it again.
Yeah, the other way I described it to somebody was, it was, if you were having some chest palpitations, do you go to your family doctor or do you go see a cardiologist?
Hmm.
It's a specialty.
Uh-huh.
And there are people out there, they love to list houses. There's people out there that love to just list agricultural and just do commercial.
Right.
And with the exclusive buyers agents, we're focusing on buying residential, but more importantly, just representing the buyer and just taking care of them. And the whole thing about being an EBA fit exactly into the motto of our brokerage, which was bringing concierge service to real estate, because I don't like to do anything like everybody else is doing. I mean, I don't, my management fees that I charge clients, I don't charge them like everybody else here does. I do it differently. I'm always one that I want to find a newer and better way. And with the exclusive buyers agents, there are no exclusive buyers agents in Wyoming.
Right.
There's in Colorado, but it hasn't gotten up here yet. And I went, oh, well, I want to be the first one.
Yeah. Well, we are so glad that you've joined the National Association of Exclusive Buyer Agents. It sounds like you're going to be with people who are like-minded. Um, the whole idea is advocating for buyers. Rob Shank is the broker of Crossed Arrows Real Estate Services in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He is also a teacher at Wyoming Real Estate School. Rob, thank you so much for joining me on Listen Up Home Buyers. Really been a pleasure.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.